France is joining the UK in sending military officers to Libya to advise rebel forces. Well, the move is aimed at breaking the stalemate between pro- and anti-Gaddafi forces after 2 months of clashes. Well, Britain earlier announced its decision to deploy up to 20 advisors to apply the UN resolution on protecting civilians. Let's cross live now to London to hear more from RT's Laura Emmett on all this. Laura, some would argue that this goes actually beyond the terms of the UN resolution on Libya. How are Britain and France justifying their decision?
Well, they're saying that these are not boots on the ground. They are, in fact, military advisors. They are armed, but only to protect themselves, according to the UK, and apparently they're not going to be wearing uniforms. And they are there to do what's being called organising the rebel troops, as opposed to training or arming them. And Foreign Secretary William Hague here in the UK is saying that they're going to be involved mainly in intelligence gathering, also in logistics, and in teaching the rebels how to improve their communications strategy. Now, we understand, it's not clear what the numbers are, but we understand that there are going to be about 10 French officers who are being sent and possibly up to 20 British officers, although other reports say that the numbers there are all are more even. But I mean, one thing is clear: whatever these people are going there to do, this does up the UK and France's commitment to this conflict in Libya. And many people are saying that this is the biggest move yet towards putting troops on the ground, as most of these governments have said that they don't want to do. Now, I spoke to John Barron, MP, who is one of only 13 MPs to have voted against the intervention in Libya, against a total of 557 who voted for. He has great worries about how this mission is progressing. Let's hear what he had to say.
I think the majority of people in this place who voted for the intervention, and I respect that view, did so on the assumption that this was about humanitarian aid and nothing more, and that it had the legitimacy of the UN resolution. Putting ground troops in, I think, would clearly go beyond that resolution. What seems becoming apparent is that we now have the no-fly zone in effect becoming the air force of the rebel fighters, and I question whether that was within the spirit of the resolution as it was originally defined.
I should say that when I spoke to John Barron, he said that there would be huge public outcry if ground troops were deployed in Libya. But nevertheless, there's a lot of worry here in the UK government, so much so that members of Parliament from all parties have requested that Parliament be recalled from its Easter break to discuss what is happening in Libya and whether this does constitute mission creep.
And what about the Libyan government, Laura? What has Tripoli said about this decision by the NATO allies?
Well, Tripoli's very angry about it. The foreign minister has come out and said that this could indeed worsen the conflict and in fact move a peace deal between the rebels and the current government further into the future. He said that it would encourage defiance amongst the rebels if they thought that they were getting an ever-increasing amount of support from NATO, and also that he says that it's a clear violation of the UN Security Council resolution, which allows only the protection of civilians. He says this is going one step too far. As I say, a lot of division here in the UK as well. Talk of mission creep, talk of this being outside the bounds of the UN Security Council resolution, and of course the ultimate worry that this is just the first step along the road to sending in ground troops. Many say that this situation could turn into a similar situation to the one that we see in Afghanistan, where of course British forces have been involved there for 10 years and counting, and they're also saying that the UK learnt nothing from Iraq and Afghanistan. But in fact, one prominent politician, Sir Ming Campbell, went one step further, reminding everyone that in fact the sending of military advisors in exactly this situation was what was the US's first move when they went into Vietnam.
All right, Laura, many thanks for that. Our correspondent Laura Emmett in London there.